welcome to the Radiant Life podcast. I am your host, Tatiana, and I am a master mindset coach, and I'm obsessed with empowering you to live and create your best life possible. If you're looking to uplevel your mindset, life, happiness, and success, then you're in the right place. My goal with this podcast is to help you see the potential within yourself, to be able to break the limiting beliefs and habits that are holding you back, and to help you feel inspired to get clear with who you are in order to create the life you desire. Thank you so much for listening. Now let's get into today's episode. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Radiant Life podcast. I'm so excited to have you today. We're going to be talking about 3 specific ways to better support others as you're growing. And so maybe, you're working on yourself. You're on your personal development journey. You've been making some shifts, some changes, but maybe not everybody around you has started, is at your level, or really understands and supports you, what you're learning, what you're doing, and whatnot. If that sounds like you, keep listening for this episode, because I totally understand that. When I started to make a lot of mindset shifts, how I shifted the way I was thinking, showing up, how I saw the world, not everyone around me yet understood what I was doing, why, they knew I was different, but they didn't understand what was happening, right? And it's important because your environment is so important. I mean, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So if you're trying to be more positive and make a change and be more mindful, yet you're surrounded by people who are being negative, seeing life happening to them, not for them, complaining, a victim mentality, well, that's only going to hold you back. You're not going to be able to continue to excel and get to the next level and grow if these people are who you surround yourself with. And I'm not saying, just ditch them, leave them. If they're toxic, obviously those are some things that you will have to deal with and maybe set some boundaries. But I want to talk with you on ways to better support those around you so you can empower them and you can inspire them to grow as well with you. That way we can make the world a better place, right? Because everybody becomes aware differently. Everybody makes changes differently. Everybody has that point where they're just like, enough. I don't want to do this anymore. And everyone's different. So how can you best support those around you to better understand what it is you're going through, what you're learning, and how you're growing? So the first thing that you can do is invite them to opt in to what you're doing, to what you're learning. And instead of trying to force your new insights and your new learnings down their throat, people who are just like, I've learned this thing, or trying to sell you, or that feeling, and you're just like, relax. I don't understand what you're saying, or I don't agree with you. That's not going to open up anybody's eyes, right, to shifting their mindset or anything. So ask them with curiosity and non-attachment, because at the end of the day, it's their choice to improve themselves, to learn, and to make these changes. And you can't get attached if they're ready or not ready yet, or if they're willing to learn, right? So maybe you just say hey, so lately I've been learning all these new concepts and things, and it's so good, and it's been really benefiting me, and I'm loving it. And I've noticed a change within myself, and I feel more happier, and it just feels so good. And I'm curious if you would like to hear a little bit more about what it is I'm learning, right? You're inviting them into your circle. You're inviting them to level up to your state, your vibration, right? And then based on their response, you can gauge how much you can share based on how they responded. If they're like, oh my goodness, yes, I would love to learn. I mean, I want to feel happier and I want to do this too. I've noticed shifts in you. Yes, then obviously that's a whole open book. They gave you permission and you can spill away, right? Maybe they're like, sure, I'm open to it, but still a little skeptical. If that's the person, they're in the middle, then share a little bit, allow it to sit with them. And then you can kind of see how they're doing. And then you can go deeper depending on what their response is, right? And of course, then if you have somebody who's like, no, I really just don't care, or I don't believe what you have to say, whatever it is, then you can be like, okay, no problem. And then that's a little bit of a eye-opener. Be like, okay, they're definitely not ready. Maybe I need to limit my time with them so I don't annoy them, and also so they don't bring me down, right? And again, just always being open and inviting them and asking them how they're doing. And if they're interested, asking them like, how are you doing each time you go over a concept or you expand the knowledge that you've been learning. And as they respond, you can gauge if it's time to go deeper or not. And when you're doing this, when you're inviting them and when you're talking about it, always come from a place of love and no judgment. We're all human. We all evolve at a different pace. We all learn things differently. And not everyone is meant to grow at the same pace as you. So just holding that space for them is the number one thing that you can really do, and just inviting them to grow with you, right? The second thing to support others as you're going through your growth journey is to embody it over just speaking it, right? You hear everybody like, don't just talk the talk, walk it. So like my coach always said, lead and others will follow. Once you start taking ownership and leadership and just embodying everything that you're learning instead of just speaking it or teaching it, people will notice the shift. You will start to walk differently. You'll start to feel more confident. You will glow differently. And that in itself will make others curious. Like, wow, what are you doing differently? You're not, you just don't see so down and dull. You're like glowing and you're happy. And even in a horrible situation, maybe they've seen you and your response is different, right? They're aware now and they're attracted to whatever it is you are portraying. They want that glow. They want that little pep in their step. They want to feel happy, right? So embodying what you're saying and being that person who's walking the talk that you're saying and not just talking it, right? You want to be the change. Lead and others will follow. Be that example for others to look up to and see, wow, there is a big shift, right? For me, I had a very negative mindset. I was a very victim mindset. World was happening to me, not for me. I would complain. I mean, you guys, I literally used to be like, I would take pride in the fact that I was a complainer. I was like, yeah, I'm a complainer. Take it or leave it. Like, if you don't like it, you can leave. Like, oh my goodness, that's how I used to think. And when I started shifting my perspective, when I started being able to see how the world was happening for me and not to me, and seeing the beauty in things, and really just taking ownership out of all of the actions I was taking and taking responsibility of the outcome. And then my mindset shifted. People saw me differently. They saw that I was happier. My energy was just glowing, that people actually wanted to hang out with me, right? And that allowed me to help bring awareness to those around me, my mom, my sister, my friends and family, and just leading and knowing that they will follow when it's their right time. And the third thing that you can do to help support others to grow and grow with you in your personal development journey is empowering them to trust themselves. Everyone has the answers within them already. So invite them to look within, look deep, and encourage them to find those answers inside versus externally, right? Remind them that they know the next steps and that you support them and that they just need that support and belief and confidence in themselves. So a few questions you can ask them when a friend is asking for you for your advice or whatnot. You could be like, well, what do you think would support you best? What are your thoughts? Asking them a question back to them will get them to think a little bit more, and they already know the answer. We want to empower everyone to think for themselves and make decisions for themselves and really know that they can trust their decisions. They can trust everything, right? A few other questions you can ask is like, if there was a solution, what would it be? I know you don't know, but if you did know, what would it be? What would that look like for you? If you did know, right? Turn it back on them. I love that one. I know you don't know, but if you did know, what would it be? And just encourage them. You got it. You can do this. I support you. You can crush it. And just really being a cheerleader in their corner until they can really learn to be that cheerleader for themselves and lift themselves up. So remembering that we're all evolving and we're all growing. And some people do choose to stay where they're at and not want to grow. And it's okay. That's not your responsibility to force them to, right? But it's also important for you to be aware of who you're surrounding yourself with. And if you are eager to share everything that you're learning, great. But again, take it by time. Invite them, ask them, gauge to see where they're at. Continue to embody everything that you are learning and walk the walk. And when they're ready and when they're starting to come to you, empower them to trust themselves. Empower them to look within and the guidance. And I really speak on number 3 for changing the conversation and question on them, because I used to seek a lot of external validation. I was very indecisive, still am working on my decisiveness, and I'm constantly was asking others' opinions and others' thoughts. But then when did that happen? Obviously I was doing things more for them, like, well, you told me to do this. Yeah, I didn't make the decision for myself of what I wanted, right? So if it went poorly or whatever, then I would get angry and I would blame them. And it was just a mess, right? Like, we have the answers within. We want to inspire everyone to make those decisions for themselves, because ultimately we're only responsible for our decisions, our thoughts, our actions, and how we respond to things. So just empowering them to trust themselves because they already know the answers. All right, well, that wraps it up. I hope this podcast is insightful when it comes to your personal development journey and being able to inspire and support those around you to grow themselves and to help them understand what it is you are going to. If this episode was valuable, please take a screenshot, share on Instagram, and tag me what was the one that really stood out to you the most. Share your takeaways with me, or share it with somebody else who could really value this at this time. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with me and write an Apple iTunes review so I can keep the good stuff coming your way. If you aren't following me already, you can find me on Instagram at Tatiana_Kuto. I appreciate you so much and cannot wait to see you in the next episode. In the meantime, continue to shine bright and embrace your radiance.